There are three things you can do to help us out.
1, you can make sure you subscribe to this channel.
2 is you can leave a comment here or on Apple Podcasts.
And 3, if you really want to help, you can follow this link to see how you could be a supporter on Patreon.
Word in Your Attic, a Zoom with a view.
Welcome to another edition of Word in Your Attic. I once did a 4-hour car journey with our guest this morning. And I think we probably spent 75% of it talking about the Hollies, which is always time well spent. It's the music writer and author, DJ, member of Saint Etienne, and enormous record collector, the great Bob Stanley. Bob, lovely to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Yeah, you've moved up to, you're in Saltaire, Yorkshire now, right?
That's right. Yeah. And I've been here a few years now. Lived in the southeast all my life. Moved up here about 6 years ago.
So you've only got a fraction of your records with you, haven't you? You were just talking about this. Go on, explain.
Yeah. Well, it's we live in like a 2 up, 2 down, which is lovely, but you can't fit that many records in. So that's kind of like behind me is pretty much all of the ones I've got.
So the rest are in storage, right?
Yeah, they're in a storage unit. I miss them. I want to get them out of the storage unit.
So they're probably, a storage unit probably doesn't do it justice. It's probably like similar to the kind of most of the British Library is underground in Yorkshire. Bob Stanley's record collection is probably similar, isn't it? How many have you got, Bob? You don't know.
I don't know. I think the last time I counted, it was over 20,000. But I mean, that's like singles and albums. It's like there's a lot of singles as well. So take up less space.
Christ, so what are you going to do to be reunited with them?
Try and find a bigger house.
Right.
That's it. It's just it's very, very boring house moving stuff. But just trying to sell a flat in London's hard at the moment. And that's the plan. We've got like a 5-year-old, or a 6-year-old now. So we want a place for the garden.
We saw him on the last podcast we did with you and your wife Tessa, when you were talking about your fall book, and he suddenly appeared behind in some very dramatic pajamas. It was great.
So look, our traditional first question, and you will no doubt have an answer to this. Do you remember the record playing machinery that was in your home when you were a child?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. We had a radiogram.
Right.
And a wind-up gramophone, which makes me sound like
a proper one.
Wow, what, playing 78s?
Yeah. I think I was left that. My dad had a God, what did he have? He had a Rogers amp. He was a bit of a hi-fi buff, so that's what I was never allowed to go near. But I was allowed to play with the wind-up gramophone, and he had Side Saddle by Russ Conway. I remember.
On a 78. Wow.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Oh, so that was his, not a grandparents. It was your parents.
It had probably been handed down, but my mum. Maybe it was my mum's actually, because she used to buy 78s when she was a teenager in the 50s, just before it changed. And my dad bought 7 inches.
Right.
He was into trad jazz, and she was more into rock and roll.
Trad jazz. So you have a house full of Acker built records and things like that.
Yeah, Chris Barber. She had like Louis Armstrong EPs and stuff. I think he was a bit sniffy about Kenny Ball and Acker Bill. Chris Barber, he was a big fan of.
Were the parties? Can you remember? Do you remember that? Do you remember people dancing to that kind of stuff?
No, well, I don't think they'd have played that then. Again, that was kind of like just handed down to me because they didn't really buy records after I was born. They didn't have enough money.
People don't. That's why.
That's right.
Yeah, so they started buying records again in the 70s. Started buying like Neil Diamond and
right.
It was a very, very big gap. The whole of the 60s, basically, they didn't buy anything.
So where were you brought up? Whereabouts exactly?
This would have been Red Hill in Surrey, like between London and Brighton.
So when did you first buy your own records, and where did you buy them? What can you remember about them?
First record I was in Woolworths in Red Hill. My mum said, "Do you want a record?" And I got Amateur Out by Sparks. So that's
right, okay.
Yeah,
so like 76. 40, oh right, okay, yeah, fine.
And the first record with any money of my own was Bands on the Run on a single, not the album.
Right.
In Hastings, a shop called the Disc Jockey in Hastings.
Paint a picture of the disc jockey. What was it like?
It was. I remember the disc jockey was quite a grumpy-looking man who didn't really look like a disc jockey, and didn't seem to enjoy running a record shop. He was quite moody. I think Johnny Trunk's just done T-shirts of their bags, which I must get one of.
Oh, really? I suppose it kind of went with the territory, didn't it, of running record shops? Because they were always persecuted by youngsters, weren't they? There was always people coming in, wanting to listen to things, and then not buying them. So
leaving thumbprints on everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. If you were disposed to grumpiness, it was going to bring it out in you, wasn't it?
Working. Yeah, absolutely. It's it's one of those things where I always sort of dream about having a secondhand record shop. And in reality, someone said to me once, you've got to think that it's one of the few places you can walk into a shop and come out with more money than you went in with. You've taken some crap in. So that's what you've got to deal with. You've got to think, oh no, people are just going to come in here thinking I can make some money. It's you're not going
to. But also, you're stuck with them, aren't you? Really, you're behind the counter. Yeah. If somebody chooses to spend all day there talking to you, they will do that. There's nothing you can do about it at all.
No, not the dream job.
No, definitely not.
Didn't you work in a record shop at one stage?
I worked in Our Price in Epsom, and then Virgin in Peterborough as well.
Oh wow!
in the 80s.
Our Price in Epsom. That doesn't sound very hip, Bob. Is that fair to say? How was it?
It was more hip than Virgin in Peterborough. I'll say
right.
You got an interesting crowd in Epsom. There's just sort of regulars. There was a guy called Mr Pilditch who looked like he might have worked in the city and had some kind of breakdown. He had a ring through his nose. He used to come in, get the big catalogue with the Music Master out, and order every single album by a certain artist. And if you pointed out that some were exactly the same but with different titles, he'd go, no, I want them all. And spent hundreds.
Really? And he would pay for them when they came.
Oh, yeah. So he must have had a lot of money. And he had like a sort of long-suffering wife by his side.
And he had a ring in his nose.
Mr Pilditch.
Mr Pilditch, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's still with us.
I love stories about record shops. I just love it. Everybody who works in a record shop usually has a version of somebody coming in and asking for the loneliest monk. Can you remember any peculiar requests by people who just maybe have been a bit clueless or whatever?
Yeah, I remember when Now 4 came out and it had the picture of a pig on the cover. And this woman came in. She obviously was really unhappy to go into a record shop. She wanted to buy a present for a nephew or something, but really cross and said, give me hogging hits. And I was like, sorry? I think it said on the cover, like 36 hogging hits.
Oh, right.
Oh, that's great.
Come on, hogging hits. You know what I'm talking about. Really cross. Obviously, I pretended I had no idea what she was talking about.
That's fantastic.
Oh, extraordinary.
So can you remember, did you first hear music on the radio or on the pops? What was your main kind of, access to music?
Yeah, Radio 1 on top of the pop.
Radio 1. Who would have been the Radio 1 shows you listened to?
Just in the morning, so it would have been Tony Blackburn, then Noel Edmonds.
Yeah.
70s. Whatever they played, stuff that was in the top 20, and then watch Top of the Pops on Thursdays.
Were you the kind of person who taped the chart show on Sunday evening? Did you keep a register of records you bought? I mean, some people did that stuff.
I used to write down the charts in an exercise book.
The whole of the chart.
Oh God! Have you still
in
got
an
those?
Exercise book?
No, I wish I had. No, all that kind of stuff's gone. I used to take the chart show on a Sunday as well when Tom Brown was doing it.
Oh right. It's extraordinary. So many, particularly male guests, go through that kind of bookkeeping phase.
Yeah.
Just before puberty, I think, largely.
Yeah, it's about trying to assert some kind of order and control on it, isn't it? It's getting out of hand, you know. If I write it all down. And then sometimes we had people who invented their own charts. They'd write down the real chart, and they'd write what the chart ought to have been, you know. I think it's lovely.
I imagine that in my head, but I don't think I ever actually wrote it down.
No.
So, but you're presumably one of those people who hung around the record shops, were you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, certainly when I got a bit older. The one in Croydon was called Bonaparte. That was like the independent.
Oh right, yes, of course, Bonaparte.
And that was
they had their own label, didn't they? Bonaparte Records, I think they did. Am I wrong?
Done. I can't remember. And Beano's was in Croydon as well, which was like a huge second-hand shop. So that was my downfall, really.
Right.
I wouldn't have been able to find things. Yeah, because I remember hearing Tell It Like It Is by Aaron Neville on the radio, and just going in there and being able to buy it because they had pretty much everything.
And at that stage, it was quite old. Tell It Like It Is. It was.
Oh yeah.
It's
I
a
mean,
60s record, isn't it?
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. This would have been like 1980 or 81.
Right. Have you got Tell It Like It Is by Aaron Neville? How many copies do you want? It was
going cheap. Yeah.
So that's when you've always taken an interest in music, kind of outside your era. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I remember hearing 10 Years of Radio 1, which would have been 1977, and they played Waterloo Sunset, and I had this like sort of trace memory of it from when I was about 2, and went out and bought Golden Hour of the Kinks from Toby Rhodes Smith's in Croydon, Beach Boys 20 Golden Greats. I mean, I think it was just sort of like immediately before punk, the charts weren't that exciting really, and there was a lot of oldies getting reissued, and so that was my way into 60s stuff, I suppose.
Right.
And having like sort of 50s singles I've been left by my mum and dad as well.
Right.
Yeah,
Have you got any to show us?
What have I got
Or is that stuff all in storage?
The record's nearly all in storage, yeah.
Yeah.
I pulled out a pretty random part. Here's a nice, I don't know if you can see that.
Oh,
A nice chart.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
From a record shop.
Oh my goodness. Someone else's baby. Is that Adam Faith?
Yeah.
Handyman. Who did Handyman? Jimmy
Jones.
Jimmy Jones. Standing on
Yeah, I
the
mean, just the way charts look.
Oh, that's
Like,
fantastic.
that would have been for a record shop, I guess. To put
Got
on the
Mac
wall.
the Knife. That's
Well,
fantastic.
Running
What-
Bear by Johnny Preston. And
Yeah.
also, interestingly, it's all about the songs, isn't it? I can't read the names of the
No, I
artists
can't.
from here, but it is
Yeah.
so much about the songs. Because
Yeah.
that was EMI's top 10, wasn't it?
Yeah. They used to do their own charts just to put on the wall in the shop and sort of kid people all the best
Yes.
on the EMI.
Yes.
Where did you get that?
A shop called Sounds Familiar in Ealing. He has a lot of nice old ephemera like that.
That's
Right.
wonderful.
It's all the paperwork that I miss so much. Right? So much around music used to be paperwork, didn't it?
Yeah.
You know, the thing itself, the music magazines, all the stuff in the shops, all that kind of stuff. You know, it was so much part of what attracted you to it, wasn't it?
And also
You know?
the joy of spotting a chart return shop. There'll be some kind of desperate looking place on one side of the road with not many people in it and a few things in the window. And there'll be one on the other side of the road all lit up with free gifts, free 12-inch single with this 7-inch Bananarama or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Double pack 7 inches.
That's it, precisely. Yeah.
So when did you first perform?
Oh, well, let me think now. Me and Pete just did a demo in a studio. Well, it wasn't even a demo, really. It was just like messing about to see what we could do with a sampler and a part of records. And we did Only Love Can Break Your Heart because we hadn't written any songs. I just wanted to do a cover version. And then played it to Jeff Barrett. And he said, I'm starting a label called Heavenly. Can I put it out? And he put it out. And then we had to go and do PAs. And that just all happened in a few weeks, really. So I had I don't know if I performed. Still,
Right.
Was that just the two of you at this stage?
We had different singers at different shows. We hadn't met Sarah at that point.
Yeah.
For about the first year. We had, I think, for the earliest ones was a singer from New Zealand called Donna Savage. Who was in a band called Dead Famous People.
Yeah.
Who were pretty good. They're on Billy Bragg's label. No, we didn't have a permanent singer.
I can remember talking to you on that car journey actually about the records that kind of influenced the group. And I think the Hollies was one of them actually. And I think Ennio Morricone was a big part of it, wasn't it? And the Fall. Yeah. What are the kind of things that fed into Saint Etienne?
Oh God, well, very early on. I mean, the things that were around at the time would have been kind of Soul to Soul and Massive Attack, the kind of sort of groups that weren't really groups and have different guest singers. So that was kind of like what inspired us to start something and not think we had to go around in the transit van having arguments with the bassist, or whatever, which had never appealed to me at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, music beyond that, we were really into Joe Meek at the time when we started. The Beach Boys we'd always loved. So there was British psychedelia. There was a lot of stuff going into it, really. Which was
what's the British psychedelia? What sort of things are we talking about?
Well, probably a lot of sort of odd one-off 7 inches, but I mean, obviously early Pink Floyd, people like oh god, all these sort of like weird one-offs on DRAM, like the 23rd Turnoff, and
I didn't know that.
oh, lovely record.
The 23rd.
Yeah,
Oh, we've
Michael,
See,
Dave Hepworth's never heard of.
I love this. This
The
is
23rd
the
Turnoff.
23rd Turnoff on DRAM. That doesn't surprise me at all. What? And they left no trace. Because what's amazing, and you must have you must have a view on this, Bob, is that the memory of popular music now is so long that everybody gets their moment in the sun, even if it's 40, 50 years later. It's something that's kind of rediscovered. Whereas that one, was it the 23rd
Turnoff,
has not yet had its moment. It may be still to come.
If we were to Google them, would there be a little site with music and a little bio? There must be.
oh, definitely.
The drummer
like
would have
Jimmy
put
Campbell.
something up.
It was Jimmy Campbell who made a couple of albums later.
Jimmy Campbell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I think he did just under that name.
Wow.
But yeah, all those like Tintern Abbey, Paper.
Tintern
Tintern Abbey. Oh yeah,
I remember Tintern Abbey.
I do too.
Yeah.
Was there something about them? Was it their slight lack of success that added to their appeal to you at all? Did you like that?
I like the names. I like the fact that they'd made one record and disappeared.
Right.
But I think the thing about all that stuff was that the productions are amazing because they had the same producers that were working on, I don't know, the Beatles or the movie,
Right.
all these other very well produced records. They had the same production values. So compared to like American Garage, which I liked but not as much, which sounded very sort of scrappy and DIY, these things sound like absolute sort of 10 out of 10 productions.
Right.
So
Have you got a copy of a record by them? No, not with you, obviously. Have you got a 23 Turnoff record?
Yeah, but it's in storage.
It's in storage.
Yeah.
Somewhere in Skipton.
I wonder how many of those there are. Maybe there'll be a member of the band watching this. They'll be absolutely overjoyed. As you say, everybody gets recognition in the end. Incredible.
Something I brought with me.
Go on.
Is the first smash hits I ever bought.
Wow.
Now that is okay.
B-52s.
I'm now going to tell you the date of that.
Let's hold up the cover. Let's have a look. It must be 79, I would have thought.
I think that's 79. I think that's September 1979.
If it's the B-52s, I would say, probably summer 79.
It
Was
is.
it still a monthly then, or was it a fortnightly?
No, it's fortnightly. I'll tell you why I recognise that, because we got married on the 5th of September 1979 in Lewis in Sussex.
Wow.
And as we walked from the register office to the reception just up the hill in Sussex, what seemed like a big flash wedding in those days, it was only about 40 people. Nowadays, it wouldn't even qualify as a gathering on a street corner, Anyway, we went past a newsagent and I couldn't stop myself looking in the window going, oh, there's the new issue. It's just arrived. And I hadn't seen it. And my new wife had to almost restrain me from going in and buying a copy.
Well, I hope it's got my Skids piece. That's right, yeah.
So there you are, 1979. So that was the first one you bought?
Yeah.
Right.
I bought it for whatever the next.
Yeah, why did you buy that issue? Was it the specials on the cover, or what was it?
I don't think I'd seen it before because I know it's when were the first issues published? It was only in Scotland.
78 was the first one. Plastic Bertrand on the cover, the test issue.
Did a test issue in the Northeast.
Yeah.
But it was national by middle of 1979, definitely, and it was fortnightly by that. Yeah.
Did you ever stick any Smash Hits posters on the wall?
Oh yeah.
What kind of things?
When I was at college, whoever was in the chart was the sort of the whatever, what do you call it, common room or whatever you called it, in the halls of residence.
Yeah.
Aha, Pet Shop Boys. Who else was there? Or Madonna.
Right.
But it's like mid-80s. Yeah. I never. Unsurprisingly, I liked keeping my copy of Smash Hits in decent nicks. I never put them to sound.
Right. Yes, of course. Took them home and ironed them. That's what some people are like. I know.
And argued with your mates as to whether we got the lyrics right.
Oh yeah.
It was agony. That it was a member of staff, Bev Hillier, Dave, wasn't there? Whose job it was to check,
is.
basically to check the lyrics and make sure that every syllable of it was correct. Because if we didn't, there was just unbelievable amounts of complaint. What else did you read apart from Smash Hits then?
What else? Oh well, shortly after that, 'cause it's 79, I think 1980, I started just like buying the 4 weeklies as well.
Yeah.
Or at least reading them in W.H. Smith's, spending like 2 hours in there.
Yeah.
He was always popular with the local shopkeeper. Oh, here he comes again.
Yeah. Who were the writers you followed?
So which writers?
Yeah.
Dave McCulloch at Sounds I liked a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Smash Hits was very even-handed and less malicious than the weeklies. So I used to. I don't know, I'm trying to think what you would have reviewed that was odd. I can remember you reviewed Eat to the Beat. I think you reviewed Eat to the Beat, and your final line was "shaken finger pop." I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Sounds great. I didn't know it was a Junior Walker record then, which is what I don't know why you put it there. But
with that,
was the description of the music.
That was the subtle way that we used to try and educate people.
I love things like that.
References that they got 50 years later or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I love it when you can drop something like that into a piece and think someone's going to get it. But or it might, a penny might drop in 20 years.
Well, absolutely. That's the weird thing about Smash Hits, is the kind of afterlife of Smash Hits. You know, that Barry McElhenney, who edited Smash Hits after Mark and myself, Barry used to do a lot of speaking engagements all around the world in the magazine business, and he always used to say, if you're really stuck in front of a room full of people, you go, there was a magazine called Smash Hits. I used to edit it. Did anybody ever read it? And they will always, doesn't matter where you are in the world,
a certain age group. Yeah. Usually
there will be somebody who go, oh yes. And they're like, and it really bonds people.
That's good. I remember that.
That relates to when they were 13, 14, when they all felt the same.
Yeah.
No matter where they were.
And they all wrote to each other, and they wrote to the magazine, you know.
Yeah.
Incredible connection.
It's
amazing time. People stop reading Smash Hits. They tend to stop reading it when they first started going to gigs. My theory was that Smash Hits was about that time when you were at home and you had the radio and you were hiding from your parents and you're up in your bedroom and you were writing postcards to mates and all that and just listening to Radio 1 and stuff and watching Top of the Pops. But the moment you started going to gigs, then you bought the weekly press. Can you, I don't know if that was the same with you, but can you remember the first group you saw?
First group I saw was the Higsons.
Oh my goodness. Amazing.
Charlie Higson's band. The second group I saw was The Fall, which would be a much better thing to say. But,
yeah.
The Higsons. I mean, John Peel played them a lot.
Yeah.
Like the first few singles. So when I saw them at the venue at Victoria.
Oh, the venue.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
What era of The Fall are we talking about then? What year would this have been?
Just before Hex Induction Hour. So playing a lot of that. Late 81 this was.
What impression did that make? You would have been how old in 81? 16?
15. Yeah.
15. Yeah.
What's
your memory of that?
It was, they played with their back to the audience for most of the set, and I was a bit disappointed, I think.
Yeah.
I'd say it was amazing. Next time I saw them, they were playing with the Birthday Party, and that was a lot better, a lot livelier. At Hampstead.
Wow, it's pretty challenging stuff.
I'm going to say,
first gigs,
the Fall of them.
Yeah, the Birthday Party was there was a mosh pit which I'd never seen before.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, it was that was a really good gig. I think it's sort of thought of as one of their best gigs as well now, which is. Then I didn't see him for about 12 years or something until the mid-90s. I started going to see him fairly regularly after that. The Fall, I mean. And
you wrote about stuff, didn't you? Because you started, I think, a couple of fanzines, didn't you? You had a fanzine when you were at school. What was that called?
Well, after I left school, me and Pete did a fanzine called CAF. Which was very C86, mid-80s indie stuff.
Yeah.
Same as a lot of other fanzines. So they're all kind of interchangeable, really. Had a very similar style. But yeah, I borrowed a lot of Smash Hits speak for that, which maybe not all the other ones did.
Who did you interview? Can you remember the first early interviews you did?
I who did I interview? It was more just like sort of like I was too scared to interview anyone, so I just used to invent interviews. Invented an interview with Bobby Gillespie. He loved that.
Well, you made up the whole
completely
thing.
invented.
Made it up. Yeah, made it, like a personal file, like Smash Hit's personal file.
Oh right.
Oh right.
Okay.
What sort of things did you say? So what do you mean? Favourite food, steak and chips, that kind of thing, or
Yeah. But
or what colour is Tuesday? Was it more?
Yeah, exactly. I can't actually remember anything that was in it now. But yeah, favourite colour, stuff like that. Didn't know.
That's brilliant. And you say that you heard what he thought of it, so he saw it.
Yeah, I think someone interviewed him afterwards and said, "Oh, like a friend of mine." He was like, he smashed their tape recorder. So he's obviously really pleased that I'd invented his Smash Hits personal file.
See, I think very often the interviews that go down best with performers are the ones that are made up, because when you make up stuff, and not that I've ever done it, but we've all polished things a bit, you end up with a better result as a consequence. It's like Mark and I often say all the great quotes attributed to rock stars, half of them are made up by journalists.
Yes.
Well, it's not so much that they're made up; they're just edited a certain way, aren't they?
Yeah,
just to make them absolutely sing. When you read a Q&A in Q magazine with Keith Richards or something, because every split syllable was just fantastic, and you knew that was someone had boiled. When you've done it yourself, you'd boiled it down from hours of waffle, into something incredibly tight and impressive.
I think the writer I was most impressed with, who got me writing really. Tom Hibbert, Smash Hits, of course.
Oh yeah.
But also Nick Cohn.
Oh right, okay.
Bop when I was about 22, and that was. I just thought, well, I really do want to do this for a living now because I write like this. And of course, he didn't. He completely made up loads of the stuff.
He did. He did.
You can't remember what now, sadly. I'd love to know exactly what was made up. There's a story about Gene Pitney. He goes to interview Gene Pitney in a room and he's just on his phone talking business with his back to him. And he's in there for about 15 minutes. He thinks he can't even see me. He doesn't even know I'm in the room. I'm just going to leave now. I don't know if that was made up or real.
Because also Nick Cohn, What Bob Stanley was a fantastic book, which everybody should read even now. And it's a long time since it came out, but it's just wonderful. But he also wrote the story in, was it the Saturday Evening Post or whatever, American magazine, called The Tribal Rights of Saturday Night or whatever it was called, from which Saturday Night Fever was developed.
Yeah.
And I think he later said he didn't go to those discos or whatever. He just got the commission to write about it and just sat in his apartment and pretty much made it up. And then a movie, and a huge money-spinning entertainment phenomenon came out of it.
But based on his imagined version, wasn't it? I've read this too, yeah. And he just kind of just thought this is what it must have been like.
This is what it must have been like.
The perfect film script. Yeah. The real thing would have been quite disappointing.
Yeah. I think he said he based it on mods on Gold Hawk Road in the 60s.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think he might have gone to a disco in Brooklyn just a while.
Oh, right. Just one.
Thought it was a bit boring. Yeah, because he went with the guy who did the illustrations in the magazine, which are amazing. So he took him along.
Right.
That was it. So he never talked to anyone, I don't think, or no, the story's completely made up. But you can kind of tell it's a lot like the film. It doesn't feel like real life.
No, I suppose not. No, it doesn't.
How did you end up working at NME then? How did you get your first stuff published?
That was because James Brown was the live editor then, and he put a call out to people around the country, outside of London, basically saying, "Does anybody want to review gigs in the Back of Beyond or whatever?" And I was in Peterborough at the time. So
right.
The Back of Beyond. I sent him a fanzine, and he said, "Go and review Johnny Cash in Peterborough next week." So that was the first review I ever did.
When were you living in Peterborough?
This was 86, 87.
Oh, right. And then it's slightly after Mark and I. We used to go to Peterborough every fortnight to bash Smash Hits.
Smash Hits, but production was done there. So we used to stay in an old hotel called the Moat House, I think it was called.
No, first of all, no, let's get this right. We stayed in the Bull.
The Bull, yeah, the Bull. Sorry.
We graduated at the Moat House when it was built, actually.
Yeah.
We stayed in the Bull and used to We used to you really look forward to it because they would have a free meal on the company, which usually culminated in Black Forest Gatto and a sticky drink.
And there was always a band. There was always a band. The band were always the same. They were kind of one of those terrible kind of cheesy cabaret bands of a couple of blokes with little keyboards and a girl singer. And we always used to invent names for them. I think one was known as the Flying Savaloy Brothers and Janet. And then we used to write about them and smash hits. We'd invent these fictitious groups to occasionally write little things about their gigs.
Oh, that's right.
I know. But anyway, so Johnny Cash was the first one. Copy dictated down the phone, or did you post it? Or
I think I probably typed it and then faxed it.
Oh,
fax. We're in the era of faxing.
Space age now.
Yeah.
You would have had to take it to a photocopying shop to get it faxed.
That's right.
Fax machines.
And then you started. Well, you did stuff with the Face as well, didn't you? Around that time.
Yeah, that was after the group got started. Really, when Cheryl Garrett was the editor, she used to let me write pieces, which was great because then I was like in Saint Etienne, but also still keeping my hand in writing.
Yeah.
And then Mojo, when Mojo started, it felt like a obvious place for me to try and do 3-page Billy Fury special or whatever.
Right. So do you develop enthusiasms that not a lot of people share? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say so. I'll show you something slightly odd that I found at a charity shop in Shipley last year. Cross-stitch.
Oh, David!
Oh my lord!
Cross-stitch David Essex.
A big David Essex fan. Which is that's
so you
somebody has sat
walked
down
into the charity shop and your eyes met across a crowded room. You thought, I've found the holy grail, a cross-stitch David Essex.
Yeah, something like that.
That's incredible. Just hold it up again. The amount of work that must have gone into that.
I like the way it's in like a school picture frame, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Photo.
And you can also, you have a mental image of the person doing it, someone who is so devoted to David Essex that they would have spent that much time.
So is David Essex one of your enthusiasms?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the early records, especially. I mean, like
he went off.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, I wasn't quite so keen on The Winter's Tale, but
right.
Yeah, no, Rock On, Gonna Make You Start, Lamplight. First few albums.
He was a huge star, wasn't he? God, he was a huge star.
Yeah.
I saw him at the height of that. I saw him he played a CBS sales conference at the Roundhouse, and I saw David Essex.
Was he good?
He was David Essex. He was what you expected was entirely what you got.
Yeah.
And is he still playing music? What's he do now?
Yeah.
I think he still occasionally tours, doesn't he?
Yeah, he did. I know he did a farewell tour 3 or 4 years ago, but he's doing another one. So
does that mean the first one went well or didn't go well? I don't know.
The long goodbye.
Yeah, Sarah Cracknell was a big fan when she was a kid as well. So it's kind of he's kind of like a sort of shared hero of the group, really. So we got to he's done a couple of things on our records. Weirdly, he's did a spoken word thing, and we did a co-write with him on Tales from Turnpike House.
All right,
which was great. So he did a duet with Sarah on that.
So you actually wrote a song with David Essex?
Yeah.
How does that work? How do you go about that?
Well, that we did a couple actually. That one was we sent him a backing track with a melody, and he wrote the lyrics about moving out of London. Funnily enough,
yeah.
And the other one was the other way around, where he came up with the lyric and we wrote a melody to it. Yeah, but that was it. And quite a while ago now. It's 17 years ago.
Yeah.
So who are your most recent obscure enthusiasms, if I can put it like that?
Well, I mean, I'm writing a book on the BeeGees at the moment. They obviously aren't obscure. But
no, certainly not obscure.
There's a lot of obscure records in their catalogue, or a lot of strange records in their catalogue. I really like the Robin Gibb solo stuff from the late 60s, 70s. When he briefly went solo, which I will say are as strange as Syd Barrett's records, but maybe not.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
First BeeGees album was amazing, I think.
Yeah.
You know, Mining Disaster, that kind of wonderful psychedelic tone it's got to it. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, and they're always such good.
They are the weirdest group in popular music history, aren't they? Really?
I'm glad you say that because I think so. Yeah,
because they just don't fit anywhere, but still flourished. Repeatedly, just because. And I tell you what my theory is, Bob. You tell me. I've got a theory about everything. Is that one way of looking at all groups is percentages of two properties. One is talent and the other is charisma. Okay. So you got the Beatles, perfect balance between talent and charisma. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You got groups like the Rolling Stones, huge charisma, slightly less talent.
Mm-hmm.
You got groups like the BeeGees, 95% talent.
Yeah.
I mean, just unbelievable talent.
Yeah.
And not quite the charisma to match it. I don't think anybody ever looked at the BeeGees and thought, I want to be like that.
I've seen people who look like Barry Gibb.
Oh, okay. But I don't think people fantasized about the BeeGees, but they love their music. God, they love their music.
Yeah. No, they're such an odd group, and just going through interviews and stuff. Right from the beginning, Barry Gibb will be like, "We're very normal." He basically says that out loud, and Robin will be going off doing something crazy, writing a musical about Winston Churchill or something they never get around to recording. And Morris is working for at the TT races on the Isle of Man. They'll be doing something quite. And Barry's like, older brother trying to hold it down and go, "No, we're very normal people. We just write normal romantic love songs." It's like, no.
So what sort of book is it? Is it going to be the full story of the BeeGees?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically going to be a chronological story of the BeeGees.
In praise of the BeeGees, kind of.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
that's
how they
good.
are the strangest group in pop music. But
and is it true? And I don't want to hear it's not true, but I always love this story that they emigrated to Australia because the chief constable of Manchester pretty much took their dad aside and said, "Get them out the country. They're such menace."
Yeah, weren't they appalling reprobates? Which is hard to imagine, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I mean, they didn't. I think Robin and Morris were left school when they were like 13. Taken out of school to be child entertainers. It's really odd. But yeah, no, they were. Robin in particular used to like burn buildings down.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
So, they were asked to leave the country. But
Never mind you.
When they came to
Vicious.
England, didn't they get the news when they were going through, I think, the Suez Canal, that they'd suddenly got a number 1 record in Australia when they just thought Australia's not working, we're not going to be successful, and they went off to see Stigwood, I think it was, wasn't it? Isn't that right? That halfway through that journey, they got the news that suddenly they were a big success in Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it gone to another speak.
So what a moment, having left all that behind, going to an uncertain future. It's incredible, really.
It's crazy. I mean, like they put out about a dozen singles in Australia, and none of them had done anything.
Yeah,
really, nothing at all.
Yeah, I wrote to Brian Epstein and said, "We're the greatest thing to come out of Australia. Please sign us." And Robert Stigwood, being at NEMS, got the
that's right
of acetates and signed it. But the chance of that happening were like, there were lots of people who were really successful in Australia. They weren't one of those groups.
Really?
And a lot of people who never did anything over here. But yeah, it's I think that's why I gave Robert Stigwood so much credit, because there hadn't been anything in Australia, really.
Yeah.
And as soon as they got here, they were touted as the next big thing, and then they were the next big thing.
Yeah. So what else have you got there?
When I finish writing the BeeGees book, I'm writing a book on the Shadows. And,
wow!
Which will be hopefully with their blessing. So I think Hank's stuck in Perth and can't get out of Australia because of COVID. But once he can come back to Britain, hopefully I'll get to interview him and Bruce Welsh. And but this is Jet Harris's handprint.
Oh wow!
That's fantastic.
Bizarrely, I think was
that's brilliant.
I think Fabulous magazine did a thing of like pop stars handprints for one issue, and this was like must have been on their file, and someone kept it all this time.
That's wonderful.
I thought, well, I've got to get that.
That's just brilliant.
Where did you cross the path of Jet Harris's handprint?
But it was just on eBay.
Right,
But someone had kept it.
Does Jet Harris know that you have his handprint? Surely he'd be immensely impressed, wouldn't he?
Right, Jet Harris passed away.
Easy, yes.
Oh, sorry. No, he did. That's right.
Wow. God, he was a big star for about a very brief period of time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he was in the early days of the Shadows. He was the person
he was the star.
you'd want to be. Yeah, he was the star more than Hank or Bruce.
Yeah.
Why are you so fond of the Shadows? I agree. I thought they were wonderful.
Yeah, I think again it was like growing up with their. I think my dad had a couple of their singles, and I got 20 Golden Greats when that came out in about 7, I think. I think Hank Marvin's an amazing guitarist, and I don't know. I just love that style of guitar playing. I think, and always loved instrumental music.
There is he's obviously not there at the moment because of COVID, but pre-COVID, there used to be a busker always down the tunnels at Oxford Circus. And I don't know how old this guy was because he just looked the same age as Hank Marvin.
Late 20s, didn't he? Yeah.
And he just basically played Shadows hits. You know, he had an electric guitar and he had some kind of track. And then the specs. And you just thought, every time you walk past it, this guy's playing Wonderful Land or Apache or whatever, you think, this will go on forever, this sound. This sound and that look will just go on forever. You can't improve it, you know.
Yeah. No, they're terrific. And there's a lot of great records that are kind of like slightly overlooked that I can delve into. The Marvin Welsh and Farrow records. Do you know those?
Oh right, I don't know it. Is that good? I never heard that.
Two albums after in the early 70s.
Yeah,
which were obviously Crosby, Stills and Nash inspired.
Oh yes, covered by Hypnosis. I think I'm right in saying.
That's right. Yeah. Lovely Hypnosis covers. And they're terrific albums, but
nobody was buying that at all. You cannot. That's so true. You can't change your spots, can you? You can't suddenly go, no, we can do that. No.
I'll put on a caftan. Yeah, exactly.
Whereas
we've got to ask you about your DJing. Dave and I are just fascinated by what records work and DJ's experience of that. So what are you still DJing? You still do the odd thing, don't you?
Yeah, occasionally. Yeah. I've got some boxes of singles. I have actually got some boxes of singles for DJing.
So what are the records that never let you down? That always fill the floor.
I was thinking about this. I think Grooving with Mr Bloe.
Right.
Always works. It's just like it's got I think it's got the bass line. It's just a fantastic record that everyone kind of it's in the back of everyone's mind. Everyone knows it when they hear it.
Yeah.
But it's not an obvious one either. That's
so that's the key, isn't it? It's got to be kind of familiar, but you're not aware that it's familiar until you hear it.
Yeah. You're not expecting to hear it.
No, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Something. It's like
Grooving with Mr Bloe. Who did that?
Mr Bloe.
I do not believe that there was a person called Mr Bloe. I think it must have been, I don't know.
I think it was sort of DJing. I think it's probably a lot of the people who played on early Elton John records.
Right. It's probably Caleb Quay.
He's
Nigel Olsen.
So you had a kind of Northern Soul phase, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh no, I love Northern Soul. It's like being up here. It's still, you go past like a working men's club or a pub on a Saturday night, and they'll say like Northern Soul singer tonight, and you still get that. It's like it's not a cool thing in any way. It's just like
no.
Grew up with in the 70s and 80s in Yorkshire and Lancashire.
Did you ever get to the Wigan Casino or anything?
Oh no. I was too young for that. Stuart McConey went.
He did. No, Stuart did. Yeah.
Yeah, which he never stops talking about. But
I know he does.
I think it was like really
talking about the moves he used to throw at the Wigan Casino. Yeah.
I think he went once. I think he only went once.
Yeah.
I'm now trying to find the thing. I've got. Oh no, I can't find it now. Hang on a second. Where have I put it? Oh yeah, here we are. So that's my membership card for the 100 clubs. Northern Soul.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, wow.
That's my old address in North
Oh,
London.
that's great.
But yeah, that's a guy called A.D. Crosdell did it. When Northern Soul was kind of like not very popular, he started the 100 Club night in the mid 80s, I think, and played a lot more sort of mid-tempo stuff as well, which is kind of more my taste. So I used to go there fairly regularly. That was that was terrific. And then he started Kent Records as well, so he's put out a lot of amazing reissues over the years.
So was the success of Tainted Love by Soft Cell a big moment for you?
Yeah, but I'd never heard the Gloria Jones.
Oh, you didn't know the original?
No, I was a bit young then. I didn't really understand what Northern Soul was. You'd read about it in the papers, and it would get mentioned a lot, and I had no real idea what it was. Till about 83, 84, I think. It's probably something in the face. I can't remember now. Yeah. Tainted Love. I mean, I love the Soft Cell version when it came out.
It's fantastic.
Bought that as soon
I
as
suppose Northern Soul is the first musical genre to be more appreciated in retrospect than it was at the time it was originally happening. Because, I grew up in the North. In the 60s, you went to discos or whatever, and you danced to Motown or whatever. Nobody ever called it Northern Soul at all.
No.
That happened later on. It was a retrospective view of what had gone on.
Yeah, I think it was a bloke called Dave Godin.
Yeah.
I think he had a stall or a shop in London, and he'd get people coming down for football matches. Mostly, I think, would come in on a Saturday. If they're from like Manchester or Leeds or whatever, they'd say, "Have you got any old Motown records?" Or he sort of like picked up on that. They were looking for these obscure things.
Right.
So he had a little box and wrote Northern Soul on it.
There you go. There's
Yeah.
That was it.
It's marketing. It's always marketing.
Yeah.
So, Bob, what's the new book you've got coming out? Because you did that brilliant book, all about.
I've got a
copy,
proof.
Dave.
I've got a proof here.
Fantastic.
I was just looking.
I'm very envious.
I was just
No,
looking.
you should have both been sent one. Sorry.
No,
I got one.
It's a prequel, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
explain the when it starts and finishes. It's a particular time period in pop history.
Well, when I wrote, it was basically the first 7 inches and first albums and then rock and roll. So early mid 50s up to the end of the century. But while I was writing the early chapters in that, I was really aware that I didn't know a huge amount about what fed into that. So, it's easy to say, The Fat Man by Fats Domino came out 5 years before Rock Around the Clock or whatever. It's like, but where did that come from? And then you found out about sort of South Central LA R&B in the 40s. And you can just keep going further and further back and finding the roots of all this stuff. And Great American Songbook, early days of jazz. I was really interested in all of it and didn't really know how any of it fitted together. So I spent 10 years trying to work out how it all fitted together. So that's it really. So I've tried to make a narrative out of all the things from the very first 78s, like Ragtime.
So it starts, that's late 19th century then, isn't it? Yeah, Ragtime. Yeah.
Ragtime is kind of the first, international pop explosion, really.
Yeah.
Because before that, it was just Victorian ballads or waltzes or music hall.
I still think that Ragtime and things like the arrival of the Charleston must have been just the most radical and revolutionary events in the entire. I can't think of anything more different and more challenging than in the 1920s, just suddenly a load of flappers with this whole new dance and this new sound, and how appalling that must have seemed to the older generation. It's a really exciting time, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And then that just suddenly ends with the Depression, and then you get into then Hollywood musicals start, so you get this whole different way of writing songs, and it's everything evolves at not a dissimilar rate to the way it did in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Really quite quickly, and it's all driven by commerce. People trying to shift records. Something I found out that I didn't know was that record shops were not only staffed entirely by women early on, but the only people who bought records were women.
Yes.
Because it was the woman's job to have the music at home. This is early 20th century.
Yeah.
They'd play the piano to entertain her husband, and they'd buy records to entertain her husband.
Yeah.
Men just didn't go into record shops then, which is quite strange. Obviously, that changed over time.
Well, I was looking at this morning and reading the Al Jolson chapter, and which was fantastic, and I was very pleased to hear that the reason that Al Jolson used to drop down on one knee is he had an ingrowing toenail. That's the kind of stuff I want to know.
Good.
And that,
where does it end, the book, though? Is it mid-50s?
No, I kind of carry it through to the 70s because
right.
When rock and roll happens, it's not like everybody else just gives up overnight.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's a massive pushback, and you still get people like, I don't know, Andy Williams or Barbara Streisand coming through, and just roll doesn't exist. And eventually, by the mid 70s, you get Perry Como doing Chris Christopherson songs or whatever. There's a bit of a meeting in the middle, and obviously now it doesn't feel like they're different worlds at all. It feels like they're a continuum, but they certainly for a while.
So when's this coming out?
May the 5th. It's coming.
May the 5th. Yeah. Okay, it's called "Let's Do It: The Birth of Pop" by Bob Stanley in May.
We should ask Bob for the greatest record ever made as well. Yes. Can you nominate the greatest record ever made?
I was going to say 10538 Overture by ELO.
Right.
Oh, right.
Not wanting to pick an obvious one, but it's one of those records. Every time I hear it, I'm very pleased I've heard it, and it's just I don't know how they got a record to sound like that. It's this sounding record ever made. It's there's so much going on.
There's no higher praise actually than every time I hear it, I'm very pleased to have heard it. That's very well put. That's fantastic.
Why is it called 10538 Overture?
I've no idea. I like that as well. It's not a catchy title, is it?
It certainly is not that. But it was a hit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't a huge hit, but it was a hit.
Word in Your Attic, a Zoom with a View.